Hi, I'm Rupert Barnard. I'm a UKCC Level 2 coach. This is Smuggler, and today we're going to be showing you the basics of harnessing up. So today we're using all-in-one synthetic marathon harness. Now this is a pairs adaptation set. So you'll see that the traces are on a quick release, and that the adjustment of the traces is down at the carriage end. This set of harness also has a false martingale. The idea being with that is that once the breast collar is on the horse, we want to keep it from bouncing around too much. So we'll put this onto him. Now the idea is that we make it as inviting for the horse as possible. So we've grouped all the straps so that we've got a nice big opening for the horse's head to go through. So when we do that, keep control of the horse. Scoop it over its head. Try out your lead rope. Secure him back up. Now in terms of fit of the breast collar, we're looking for a nice snug fit around his body between the point of the shoulder and the top of the windpipe, because we don't want him to have any difficulties breathing because of the fit of the harness, but also we want him to be able to use his full shoulder so he can pull up into it into draft. So now we've got the breast collar on, we're now going to look at the saddle and the breeching. Now again, this all goes on as one, although you can have adaptations where there's a clip on the back band to make it easier for some sets of harness. And we're going to put it straight up over his back. Sit the saddle on so that it doesn't catch on any of the straps. It sits there nicely. Now on a cold day like today, it's a little bit stiff, so it's just making sure that we've got a nice fit. Then we'll put the breeching over his back as well. Good lad. There we go. Now you can see that the last person that used this set of harness has left their breeching straps down. We're just going to put those back up through the keeper, so that A, they're not dragging on the floor, but B, if anything does catch on them, they can quick release and the horse doesn't get caught. Okay, so we'll get that side and this side as well. Now you'll also see that the traces are rolled up. In our experience on a busy yard, it's always best to keep the sets of harness together. So again, we've kept them rolled up so they're off the floor and that they can't be trodden on, but at the same time we're not losing them and we're not spending half our day looking for bits of harness. So just a quick tip on fitment of the saddle, so you've got it exactly right. The idea is that as it goes on the wither and then slides back into the natural formation there, okay? Now you know you've got it right when if you get to the end of his shoulder, you've then got 4 fingers to the pad, okay? So the saddle pad itself sits 4 fingers back from the edge of the shoulder. It is a guideline, but we do find that typically that's where it wants to be. Moving on now, we're going to do up the girth. Now this one is in a sheepskin, just to give him a bit more of extra protection. Now the first thing we're going to do is make sure that we pick up our false martingale. Now some of these have clips on and they just clip on. This one is one that actually you go through, okay? So between the legs, pass the girth and the belly band through it. Now I'm just going to do the girth up loosely for the time being, okay? This is a horse that likes to blow out when you do his girth up, so we have to play a bit of a game. So I'm just going to go up to the second hole for the time being, so that holds the saddle in place, in the correct place, but then from there we can then go on and do the rest of the harness. Okay, so we're now moving on to doing up the crupper. This is a safety critical area, so we want to make sure that we stand hip to hip with the horse, okay? When we gather up the tail, we want to make sure that we've got all of his hair. The reason being is that we don't want it to get trapped underneath the crupper. And pass the crupper underneath. And again, just do it up so it's snug. Now with him, he's not overly keen on having it done, so just need to make sure that he's nice and comfy. And then in terms of fit of the crupper, you want to make sure that you can get 2 fingers underneath the tail, just so you've got that. Okay, so we've got the crupper done up. Now we're just going to make sure that we've got enough space under our back strap, so that's 4 fingers there, just to make sure that we've got enough flexion in that so that when he stretches through his back, the harness isn't going to constrict him and hold him tight. Now that we've got our saddle and crupper and breeching secured, we can unroll our traces. The idea of this is a bit of good housekeeping. What we want to do is minimise time when we're putting to. So if we've got everything ready beforehand, we're in a much safer environment to be able to do so. So I'm going to pass them through the trace carriers. Now there's many ways of putting your traces up. Some people fold them up under the back strap. That's fine if it works for your harness and the traces don't fall down. Other people fold them through the breeching. Again, that's fine. It's what works for you and what's safe in your environment. It depends on the type of harness you've got. Personally, with him, I'm happier doing it this way because I know that the weight of the buckle will hold it in position. So we're going to do that on the other side as well. Over. Always making sure that we give ourselves plenty of room to work around the horse. There's no point getting in tight and personal with them when we've got a lovely big yard environment to do so. So unroll this trace as well. Through the trace carrier. Slide down. And then we're ready to move on. Okay, so while we're at this end, we can talk about fit of the breeching. Now, very simply, as a general rule, you're looking between halfway between the hock and the dock. Okay, but depending on the conformation of your horse, the more natural line might actually be ring of the breeching from the stifle and to the other side, and the ring onto the stifle again. Okay. Now, in terms of hip straps, loin straps, call them what you will. You want to make sure that we've got a nice even line, and that in terms of supporting breeching, when it's in the carriage, that you've got that support all the way around. Okay, so we've got our pulling power sorted out. We've got our braking sorted out with breeching. So now we need to have some steering. When we put our reins on, we want to make sure that we haven't got any tangles and that we're ready to go. Okay, because there's nothing worse than getting your reins put on and finding you've got a knot in the back. Okay, so we're going to start off with the near side. Pass them through. So you go through the saddle terret and then through the breast collar terret and give yourself plenty of slack. Don't eat it. I'm going to do the same with the offside now. I'm going to pass them through the two terrets and then I'll pull them through from the other side. Smudge. Okay. Now, when it comes to putting our reins up, we want to put them up in such a way that they're easy to put up, they hold there well, but then if we do need to grab them quickly for any reason, we can do that. So what I'm going to do is make a loop. I'm going to pass that loop under the back band. I'm then going to take the free end, pass it up through that loop and pull down with the billet end. Okay. What that does is create a slip knot that if I need to, I can pull that quickly and the reins come away. Okay, so create the loop, up behind the back band, take the free end and pull on the billet end. Okay, and that is now the rein secured. So at this point, we've got a horse that's harnessed up, he's still tied up, he's not got a bridle on, so we can go and find our hat, our gloves, everything else that we need. And then from there we can make sure our carriage is ready so that when it does come to putting to, we can then be away and out on the carriage as quickly as possible. Okay, so we're now ready to put our bridle on, making sure that we've got everything done beforehand. So we've got our girth done up, the belly band is done up just through the keepers because we're going to have to undo that again when we get to the carriage. We've got our traces and our reins are secured along with our hitching straps and our crafters there as well. We're going to show you the way that we use, although there are a range of different methods of putting the bridle on, but this is the one that works for us. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is secure the horse and make sure that we've got him. And we're going to put the head collar around his neck so that I've got an unimpeded access to his head. Now, he knows his job fairly well, so what we're going to do is actually use the top of the bridle, and we're going to put that so our hand is over the top of his head so it rests underneath, making sure he's got a nice open view through the bridle, so he can then accept the bit without any worry. Put his ears through without squishing them if we can. There we go, and then just pick the ball up through and make sure we've got nothing catching on his eyes. Okay, from there, just making sure that the bit is sat in his mouth nicely. We can then secure the bridle for a start by doing our throat lash. Now with the throat lash, we're looking for 2 fingers on the jawbone. The idea that it gives him enough space for him to move his jaw, but if he does try and rub the bridle off for any reason, then the bridle will stay on. From there, we can then move down the straps to his noseband. And again, we're looking for 2 fingers on the noseband as well. That's 2 fingers at the back, underneath the jaw. Okay. Next, all about the curb chain. Now with the curb chain, you want to make sure that where it's a metal curb like this, that it is nice and flat against his jawbone. If it's twisted, it will dig in and it will be much more severe than you think it is based on the setting. Okay, now he has his curb chain fairly loose. I'm just going to hook it over the hook, and then we've got some spare links here. I'm going to use them to just sit over the top so that they're not flapping around for him. We've now got the bridle on, and the next thing we need to do is secure our reins so we've got full control of the horse again. So we'll do that as quickly as we can. We'll take the billet end. Now smuggler goes on plain cheek, so it's simply through the ring. Other rein settings are available depending on what you need for your horse. Okay, so one side correct. Bring our rein through the other side, making sure that it's not twisted. Straight onto the ring. Through. And there we go. Now the horse is harnessed up, ready to go.